We're going to look at a couple of techniques right now for sharpening the individual channels in a photograph. So let's go ahead and get started on that. All right, let's open up this flower image, and let me expand that a little bit just to hide the browser back there, and we're going to bring it up to 100%. Now you can see here that the image is made up of three channels: red, green, and blue. And each one of these channels has different information in it. And there may be certain instances where you want to sharpen certain information and not sharpen other information. For instance, many times the blue channel will have a lot of noise in it. This is the one that's most likely to have the noise in it. And that would occur maybe in the dark areas, maybe in the light areas like a sky. Here I don't see too much noise. Let's look at the green channel. The green channel has some detail in it. Doesn't look like it has quite as much detail as the blue channel. And then the red doesn't have a lot of detail in it. So let's try sharpening the blue channel here. And maybe we'll throw in the green channel also. And the way we do that is hold the Shift key down and click on the green. So now we're looking at the green and the blue channels, and we're going to go in and we're going to sharpen those. But before we do, let's go back to the RGB, go over to our layers, and we're going to duplicate this, and let's just call this GB for green blue. And this is the image that we're going to be sharpening. So let's go back to our channels. We'll select our green. Holding the Shift key down, we select the blue. And now we can go up to do our sharpening. And what I'm going to choose to use here is the unsharp mask. And we're going to go in and let's just use, well, let's see. Let's bring the amount up a little bit. Maybe bring the radius down a little bit. And that looks pretty good. So let's accept that. Now I'm going to go back to my red, green, blue image, and let's go over here to our layers, and let's see what we did as far as sharpening. There we go. And it works. It works very nicely. Now, one of the things you have to watch out for, if we come down here and look at this, you can see I've got some color fringing here, which means we probably over sharpened it, or that there was a color bias in that area. So you have to be very, very careful when you work with this type of sharpening. I'm going to go back to look at the entire image here. So maybe we want to fade that sharpening back a little bit just to take care of that. There are other ways that we can take care of the fringing. What we could have done was we could have always selected this image off the background and just sharpened it off the background, because we really didn't want to sharpen the background that much anyway. Okay, let's look at a different type of image. Let's close this, and I'm going to go over here and I'm going to pick this blimp. Let's open this up, and when we take a look at this, we'll be able to see what noise looks like a little bit more. So let's bring this up to 100%, and let's duplicate our channel here, or duplicate our background image, and let's go over to our channels palette, and let's start looking at the various colors. There's red. We have some pretty strong edges here that we can sharpen with that. The green, I don't know that we're going to want to sharpen that up, but we could probably sharpen that up a little bit. And look at the blue here. This is noise. This stuff inside the triangle that was yellow, that's noise. I also see some other noise out in here in the cab. And if we look around, we can pick up a little bit more noise out in some of these colors out in here. All right. So we don't want to sharpen the blue channel because it does contain our noise. So let's go in and let's sharpen our red and green channels. Okay. The way we're we're going to do this is we're going to go back up here to Unsharp Mask, and we're going to go in, and we're not going to sharpen it as much this time because we want to make sure that we don't get that fringing that we saw before. So let's sharpen it a little bit less in here. Okay. That looks like it might be all right, so let's see what we have. And actually that looks pretty good. We don't have any noise showing up here in our yellow or down in here because we didn't sharpen that blue channel. Let's go back over to the layers and let's compare the sharpened with the non-sharpened. And you can see that we did sharpen the image a little bit, especially in these lines across here and in the tie-down lines that were out in here. So this is a case where the sharpening of just a couple of layers works, or even of one layer that works. All right, let's look at one other instance where we want to do this, or where we might want to do this, and that would be in a portrait. Now, remember this image. When we looked at this image before, we found out that, as soon as it opens we can find out, here we go, we found out that we wanted to sharpen the eyes and eyelashes, but when we did that we also got some skin texture that was sharpened. So let's create our duplicate layer here, and let's go in and look at our channels here. Here's our red channel, and here we have our eyelashes, and not too much other detail out here. The green brings in a lot of the skin, so we know we don't want to sharpen that. And the blue is even worse. We don't want to do that. So in the case of a portrait, maybe you want to just sharpen the red channel. So let's go in and sharpen that. And remember, when you're just looking at one channel, you're looking at a grayscale image, a black and white image. The only time the colors are put in are when you're looking at multiple channels so that you can see the interaction and effect of the two. All right, so let's go in and let's sharpen, and let's use the Unsharp Mask again, and let's sharpen these eyes. Okay, let's just bring that up and see what happens when we sharpen that up a little bit. Maybe bring the radius up, and that looks quite a bit sharper. So let's say okay. We'll go back to the RGB and let's take a look and see what happened here. If I look at the non-sharpened versus the sharpened, it looks pretty good. And you can see we didn't sharpen much of anything in the skin area at all, but we did sharpen the eyes. So this is a case where if you just sharpen the one channel, that you're going to be doing a lot better. So we'll look at some techniques a little bit later as to how to actually go in and localize this sharpening so that we can minimize effects that we don't want.